All right, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Nora.
Thank you for, waiting until, what time is it, Bill? Is it 6:20?
It's definitely 6:20.
Thank you. This lovely person here is Rhonda Morton.
Hey, Rhonda.
Right? I'm gonna tell you a little about Rhonda. Rhonda, in her own words, is a poet of the stage as well as the page. She often layers words with sounds, song, and movement to add depth and richness to her performances. She is the author of 3 books: Woman Seeking Water, Breathing In, Breathing Out, and But I Just Got Here, all published by Foothills Publishing, Mr. Michael King Company. This is her latest book, But I Just Got Here, which I just read and really enjoyed, and so she'll tell you about it and maybe share a little bit of it, new stuff.
I probably won't tell you about it.
It's great. It's like if you know, a collection of poems that kind of like covers an entire life, which is really sort of amazing in one volume. And some of the poems are remarkable. So I like them. And what else can I say about you, Rhonda? Where are you from? Original.
Well, I'm a Navy brat, so I'm from all over. Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you from?
Thank you for my service.
Where did you? Where did you come from today?
Oh, morning. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm just gonna turn it over to Rhonda. Rhonda Morton.
Thanks for weathering the weather to get here. We were on our way from Corning and suddenly it was like whiteout conditions and I was like, nobody's gonna come. So thanks for doing it. I'm not much for introducing each poem, so I'm just gonna kind of give you a introduction to how or what I'm gonna read, and then kind of just make my way through the poems. It's so funny, I print them out in like 20-point type, and I still need my glasses, unbelievable. So today is my dad's birthday. He died 2 years ago, but today he would have been 95. So I'm going to begin with a few poems in honor of my dad, about my dad. And then I'm going to do 2 winter poems, one from 2002, and then one from last year. So 2002 was a long time ago. I was a different person. And so when I was, what I did was I just did a find in my giant manuscript of every poem I've ever written for like dad. And this winter poem came up and I was like, well, I've never read that in public. Michael may never even heard it. Like, you know, so it's like, I'm gonna read that. So, and then, like I said, one from last month. And then that is maybe a little bit heavy, everything that I've just talked about so far. So I'm going to finish up with some lighter, more playful poems, because God knows we need that right now. Okay. Soundings. Cards snap in waves around the table. Divvied chips clatter in a tumble, grasp into stacks of serrated columns. He breathes a quiet curse, sniggers with revenge, joins raucous talk between hands. Pastel mints melt soundlessly in my mouth. I listen, ear against his chest, to the resonance of security. Father figures. 1. I have a picture. At a party, he leans drunkenly toward my mother, not touching, dancing fast, laughing. When we waved goodbye the next day, she said, "Don't watch him out of sight. It's bad luck." From this distance, reality wavers, ripples, like watching underwater. 2. Spit shine shoes spill the rhythm of his anger on the linoleum down the hallway, over the hardwood floors, swelling into a white-capped wave that flung me gulping for a single word, a scrap of reason, anything to save him, rescue me. 3. He cried once. At the dinner table, dishes pushed back, he told us it was a little kid who threw the grenade, blew up the Jeep, and all my buddies. His words squeezed past the breath he'd always held, always would. 30 years, perfect service. 4. I have a picture of a man dancing fast, laughing.
Mm.
Do you guys want to sit here? I know it's just not comfy and it's really comfy, but
That's why I just
I'm
didn't
gonna
want
have
to
to
interrupt
do
you at all.
this.
Yeah, I need to do one. Who's all here?
Just let them sit.
Absolutely. Need a couple of chairs here, right? Slide over.
In case you guys want to do that.
Or here's a comfy chair.
There's a couple of
My comfy chair.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, this doesn't count for any of my 30 minutes, I'm just telling you that.
You've seen guys.
Desert flowers. Why do they call them devil's claws? These dry desert flowers, like toothy maws, fertile vulvas, aping both life and death, plus all the hungers in between. My father, 71, helped me find them, wading through prickery weeds where cactus quills clung to us, puncturing skin, drawing blood. When we got home, Dad used pliers to pull thorns from his shin while I looked on helpless. We had to throw away our socks. But we kept the treasure trove of flower skeletons, cactus lace, found feathers, and purple stones. After the sun went down, I licked salt from around my mouth, preserving memories of sun on skin, my father beside me. My dad would have been 95 today, newcomers, so I'm reading a few poems in honor of him. Goodbye, my favorite pain. My speed dial is labeled Daddy. I press the button. My mother answers and tries to remember my name. I was told in a dream she has let go of life and is falling backwards in slow motion into a deep sea waiting below. So I let go of her. I wonder what my father holds on to, courageously looking into her widening eyes. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I used to think I was the courageous one, never holding on in the first place, or letting go as soon as the rope tightened. I said, I don't need anyone. I can go it alone. Goodbye, my favorite pain. Now, even though she's forgotten how to cook and doesn't always make it to the bathroom in time, even though she can't write a coherent letter or go for a walk by herself, the other day, my dad let her cut his hair. Just to make her feel useful, just to feel her touch. I have no idea how to love someone that much. How to hold on like you're tied to a mast, even though the waves swell to vertical walls and the ship breaks apart beneath your feet. My dad's black box.
I got two, man.
Good one, George.
It does kind of go with this next
Right,
part.
at least it was between poems.
That's true.
It's a private joke that falls flat in love.
My dad's black box. Once as shiny as its patent leather dress shoes, now the paint is chipped and worn down to bare metal. A little bigger than an egg carton and with a locking lid, the box held the checkbook and family bills. Once a month, we'd set the black box on the kitchen table and tally the stack of canceled checks to balance the accounts. Like a genie's bottle, every time he opened it, that black box granted the wishes of security, stability of my father's nearly silent love. We didn't have to talk to know each other. Sometimes we quietly play Scrabble and he'd pay the bills during my turn, keeping busy as I took forever trying to beat him with my sixth grader's vocabulary. More words passed between us on that board than in any other way. Years later, dying of lung cancer, he needed to write a check and he asked me to fetch the black box. So commonplace for him. But I choked on sorrow handing it over. He looked up and saw my tears, surprised. I asked if I could have his black box when he was gone. He said, "Of course, sugar." And then I told him how much I loved him and how much I was going to miss him, how he had always protected me and kept me safe, that somehow the black box was a priceless artifact of his life and a tangible symbol of his love. He looked startled by my outpouring, a bit abashed on my behalf. I guess I could have just said, "Thank you, Daddy," and trusted he knew what that meant. Okay, so this is from winter 2002. And it takes 9 minutes to read, which is part of the reason I never read it. But don't be afraid. What it really is kind of all the journal entries from that winter. So it's like multiple poems within a poem, and somehow they kind of go together. And they start with a quote from Thomas More. From the viewpoint of the soul, desire simply is. It need not be satisfied. The opening made by desire, that hole in our satisfaction, is the opening to divinity. I think my whole life is longing. So, I feel like this was written by someone else, and yet, of course, it's very familiar to me. Stalled. Is it Mercury reversing, or the Jupiter of fear ever looming, ever orbiting my heart? I need money to fall from that dark sky, to keep seeds sprouting, big spirit woman. I know this is the right path for me. It's all there in front of me like pieces of PVC. Connect them all and money will flow from the end like God's infinite love. Can I connect them fast enough? A part of me is always watching the clock, worried, distracted by cash flow and budgets, bank accounts and taxes. Today, I saw flakes of snow flying like fairies, tracing kaleidoscopes in the sliver between my windowsill and the not quite closed blind. A small thing. I had to really stop and look to see it. Been walking in the woods on paths unfamiliar to me, watching my footprints filled with snow, knowing I can't turn back, but must keep open to the way unfolding in front of me. I am lying on the floor. God pulls me up from my chest to a sitting position, then gives me a hand up to standing, and then pulls on both hands to reach higher and higher. Filled with an awestruck, humble gratitude, I cry, head bowed, hands up, outstretched to the sky, unable to look into the face of God. Shy and afraid, I look out the corner of my eye. Now sobbing, I work up the courage to see straight on this power at work in my life. Michael says, you may not be able to reap all the things that are blossoming. Boom. Suddenly the room is on fire with an idea. Voices, more than just the two of ours, echo off the round walls. Like dry kindling, sparked in a high wind, it spreads around us and through us. Until there is a choir of angels entering my chest and running out to the ends of my fingers, the soles of my feet. And God comes and stands with us. And then I am on fire with it, literally flushed and glowing. After Jaden leaves, I stay and sing. Since then, the fire has turned to slow burning embers and sudden flare-ups. I sing to my divine co-creator. You are inside of me. I am inside of you. I see myself 20 years from now. Tears falling, snow dripping onto the floor, still warmed by its heat. From the opening in the silo ceiling, still illuminated in its light. You are inside me, I am inside you. You are inside me, I am inside you. You are inside me, I am inside you. My body wants a strong man, solid beside me, dreaming of kissing me again. The room filled with the smell of an apple pie baking, gingery, crumbly sweet, breakably tender. My thighs want to rest, open, safe. I miss someone I haven't even met yet. I am told that this fiery exterior is just a veneer covering a tender, watery place. But I'm proud of that fire. Be watery, weak, tender. Well, what if that's a myth I've told myself? Yes, water is yielding, but it's also irrepressible. I think about other qualities of water. It's playful, destructive, infinitely divisible, collectible. Water is soothing and scary. Water goes so deep and it lives high in the clouds. Mix water with fire and you get steam. There's nothing weak about steam. The full moon and the sun in the sky at the same time hint at what's to come this misty morning. Northern California, February. I am tulip petals falling open. No winter here. I lean back and feel unseen arms wrapping around me, something holding me in its breath, singing soft against my ear into my hair. My throat opens to receive God. Salsa, psalm, glory, glory in 7/8 time. Hungry with mother love, I want to hold him in my lap, kiss his grass sweet hair, his arms not halfway round me. Instead, he reaches for my hand, cups it like a fragile bird, some small creature in his man's grasp, and makes jokes through the bloody gauze. I call my mother, tears in my throat. She's been into the old photos again. She asks, "Where are you?" Expecting me to say, "In my 13th year on the boardwalk in Atlantic City with you and Dad and Paul." Or, "I'm in first grade, earning the star for tying my shoes." She can't find her way home, and neither can I. Last night, I dreamed about the kittens again and bird eggs, half hatched. One of the baby birds was plastic, with tiny ears not quite hidden by the cracked egg. They had fallen from the tree. I cried out, dismayed, wanting them to stay in the nest, telling them it was too early, not safe. My shitty alter ego comes to visit. I hate what she says because I don't want to believe it's true, but part of me does believe it. She says that there really isn't any point in doing all this stuff I do for the world, that the forces of darkness are always working against me. She says there's no such thing as big love, no such thing as purpose in life. She says people are selfish and stupid and not really capable of greatness for any sustained period of time. She says that when I feel good and connected and in my flow, it's just some aberration, that it won't last. She says that I can talk myself into some in the groove state of mind, but that it's just a state of mind. It isn't any more real than what she believes. I can't ignore her, invalidate her, or wait her out, hoping she'll get tired of herself and go back to wherever she comes from. I have to face her. I don't want to face her. I know she lives in the ocean of sadness that is at my core. I'm afraid of that ocean. I have constructed all kinds of boats and submarines and inner tubes to keep me safe from it. But then sometimes the waves just come crashing over me when I least expect it, when my boats are nowhere to be found. I'm on the shore now, scrabbling for all I'm worth, the waves sucking at the sand beneath me, and I'm trying not to let the ocean suck me in, suck me under. Yea, my ocean mother, when I lose my footing on dry land, when I forget to swim, hold my head above the waves. Let me float on your soft water, soft breath. Yea, Maya, yea, Maya. I will stop eating emptiness. Stop chasing after the elusive shoe that never fits. You are inside me. I am inside you. You survived 9 minutes.
Yeah.
So this poem probably does deserve a little bit of an intro. It was originally titled Walking the Dog in December, and it was a lovely little poem about walking the dog in December. But I knew there was something not quite there. I took it to writer's group and I was wrestling with it. And then the next day, I renamed it Walking the Dog in December 2024. And you'll probably figure out that it's now 2 poems in one. Looking out the kitchen window at the pond, I see rain dimple its surface. No, it's cold, though most of the thin ice has thawed. I enter the cozy chamber of my big red coat, more kid's sleeping bag than jacket, and slip into my floozy flowered rain boots. I turned off the spigot of news at 2 a.m. on election night. Not one drip of it since. It's like getting clean from smack. The dog, who has been going berserk, barking in circles at the door, doesn't know about the dimpled pond. So, on the covered porch, she pauses to conjure her inner wolf before plunging down the steps into the rain with her leash as straight as rebar between us. I convince myself it's okay to whistle a happy tune until January 20. Enjoy these days, albeit braced for later impact. With her nose down and mine up, we proceed. The air smells like fertile earth, minerally and clean. Wet weeds and faces of trees must be doggy ecstasy. Walking the normal 2-mile route takes us 40 minutes, with her stops to sniff and my zigzags to splash in the puddles. I up my donations to Amnesty, the ACLU, the NRDC, and Planned Parenthood. I await further instructions. We get steadily wetter until both our coats are sodden. When I stomp the rain off my boots back home, it's hard to tell which of us is more sopping, more satisfied. But my gratitude only grows on the inner porch with the peeling off of my soaked coat and the rubbing down of hers. The Black Plague, the Dust Bowl, the wars that never end all wars. This disaster is not singular. Shall I despair or find comfort in that? My Thanksgiving continues with the triumphant delight of not wet socks as I lever off my boots and enter the small miracle of a snug, dry home. Then there are the open arms of the drying rack over the furnace vent, more comforting than a lover's hug. Children freeze in Gaza. Thugs rise to power worldwide. Ice gears up. And I wind inward, storing energy, a human torsion spring. The damp shoulders of my sweatshirt steam dry against warm skin, a lingering reminder of this morning's blessings. Okay, so Barb had told me that Jennifer Maloney was coming tonight. And I know Jennifer likes her a sexy poem, so I was like, okay, I'll bring a sexy poem for Jennifer. And she also writes short stories, so this wasn't mentioned in my bio, I left it out of my bio, but I also have a book of short stories, like very short stories. So I'm gonna read one of those, because Jennifer's writes fiction as well. This again. April. Okay, I admit it, I miss the dark. The way it would saunter toward me with a half grin and low slung jeans. Or more often, I would seek it out, dirty dancing with a stranger in a bar, other strangers watching, a foreign tongue licking the air, absinthe fires, mosaic castles, abstract jazz. It's like walking along a cliffside path and your foot slides over a loose stone that shoots out and pings its way to the rocks and waves crashing below. Your heart pounding in your chest, near miss, near kiss. Ignore the warnings. You're going to get old and die. And somewhere along the way, the dark will decide to pass you by. You will eat your oatmeal, do your yoga, tend your flowers, clipping back the wildest vines. Watch for the opening. Take the narrow spiral staircase that lands you in the stars. July. The cilantro frills to seed and lilies trumpet the sun. It is midsummer and my bike is still sitting on the porch with a towel thrown over it. The kayak harbors spiders in the basement. What am I waiting for? This is my life. This is my life. This is my life. The laundry can wait. Dusting is overrated. Rings can rhyme the bathtub, the kitchen cups, the pails in the shed. Get up and get out. The haze will soon give way to ice. Love the overgrown grass itching my ankles. Love the sweat trickling down my back. Love the gnats, the weeds, the relentless humidity. Ask for more, ask for less. Either way, I'll get what I get, and in the end, it won't be enough. So let the fountain fall on my body, clothes and all, drench myself in life. July again. You would think that almost burning down the house twice in a matter of hours would be enough, would meet my quota for danger, but it only whets my appetite. I want to ride my bike in the dark. Put a pomegranate down every person's shirt in the bar. I did that once. Dance up the walls while everyone watches. I want to kiss someone I don't know and find myself lost on the way home in a foreign city. I want to flirt with everyone, anyone. Make a scene, make everyone wish they were me. Eat something delicious, lick by lick. I want my own moon-cast shadow to scare me on the open road. I want to embarrass my kids and inspire my grandkids. This life of plucking the wilted lilies to keep the garden neat, this be here as a safe haven, this talk myself out of instead of into, is the size of a coffin. I gotta get out while I can. August. Fog socks in the hills, heavy clouds invade the valley, drizzle pelts every already waterlogged thing. It's in these moments that the maw of pleasure opens, a hungry monster seeking at the flame-singed windows, down through the gaping roof, desperate, wanting, looking for something to couple with, even if it means fleeting pleasure swings to pain. But I know the never-ending ending of that story, longing begetting longing. So instead of running toward or away, what if I plant my feet? Draw longing up into my lungs, let it curl into the soft liquid chambers of my heart, and like an oak, root deep, deep into the living soil of my soul, alive with possibility. Can I invite bark and branch, pistil and leaf to reach for never hungry joy? No. Who am I kidding? I am water and fire, fizzle and steam. Mercury is my god, Loki my other. Rear view mirrors were made for me. Okay, so these are just numbered. I just gotta get a drink. 14 of them. I'm gonna read the one entitled 6. The three of them sit at the bar. Chucky and Joe talk across Carmela. I once saw a guy, says Joe, was drinking a Coke at a picnic, and before he can figure out why his can's vibrating, the bee comes up out of there and stings him 3 or 4 times on the mouth. He can't no ways get that bee off him. When the guy finally brushes it off, that bee hops around on the picnic bench, all dripping Coke and piss to boot. Joe laughs a big belly laugh, slaps his thigh, and adds, "Don't that beat all?" Chucky, who's been smirking through the whole story, starts in on his own topper, and Carmela lets her ears fuzz so that she doesn't hear any of it, just their voices as if they're underwater. She looks at the guy at the end of the bar. A half-empty wine bottle sits next to his half-full glass. Is he planning on drinking the whole thing by himself? She sees he's not wearing a wedding ring, which may or may not mean anything. She likes the look of him, and while he watches the band, she watches him. He's got a messy, unkempt air about him. She guesses he smells of mown grass and napping in the sun, like light was baked into him, like he's doing some via traveling himself. Joe and Chucky have moved on to tales of how many beers they once drank. Carmela's heard them all. The men have 3 categories of stories: those involving cars, those involving the entertaining misfortunes of others, and those involving how drunk they once got and what dumbass thing they did because of it. She figures they probably talk about sex and women too, but never when she's around. The stranger must feel her looking at the side of his head because he turns suddenly as if someone called his name. There's no time to look away, so their eyes catch hold. She sees the interest and surprise pass through him, but looks away before he can take in her buck-naked desire. Now she has to feign interest in Joe and Chucky, ping-pong her head to look at them when they talk. Since she never pays attention to them, the men get even louder and faster. They talk over each other like puppies galumphing into their food dish. She can't stand it. She spins on her stool and yells, "I'll be as she slides off and heads for the bathroom. There's a line, of course, and she has time to read the entire choking poster on the bulletin board in the hallway while she waits. By the time I get back to the bar, he'll be gone, she thinks. Story of my life. The woman leaning against the wall next to her says, "I like your shoes. They're real sexy." Carmela looks at her white slingbacks and says, "Thanks, I got them at Target." The woman nods and says, "Nice." They go back to waiting. "I got these shoes for a reason," Carmela thinks. "I got them to go to Nashville and then I never went. Story of my life." She leans there and thinks of all the things all the other things she never did. Never went to stewardess school, never moved to Memphis with Diane, never even snuck into the drive-in when everybody else back in high school did it, She keeps listing all the nevers through the rest of the line and her turn in the stall. When she gets back to the bar, the guy at the other end is still there watching the band, sipping his wine. She climbs onto the stool between Charlie and Joe, leaning way forward so the bartender can see her. He finishes wiping a glass with his white cloth, hangs it on the overhead rack, and comes over to take her order. She yells over the music, "Can I have an empty wine glass?" Okay, last one, has a fitting title for being the last one. Final garage sale. A sign in front of the cemetery says garage sale. I'll say everything must go. All the blue skies, perfect scoops of ice cream, peach juice, never-ending kisses, shots of brunette, noses buried in lilac, snatches of songs that snap us half a century into the past, the grip of grandchildren's fingers that ricochet us into a future we'll never see, but want to desperately. I try to believe I'll somehow hitch a ride back on their heartstrings, hear their prayers from somewhere, and answer them like I did when they called my name down the hall in the night, one bed to another, the long wooden floorboards vibrating with love. Today, life and death move in and out of focus, my thoughts boomeranging between now and then and now. I sit on the shore of Seneca Lake, vineyards and solar panels rolling over the landscape, clouds marking time, blocking and unblocking the sun. This moment accented by a girl's high-pitched giggle, the clink of glasses, wind across my ears. But I remember the blackened Asian pears rotting in the jungle of iris fronds where they fell from the laden tree. Coke can wasps and picnic ants swarming the fruit, turning death to life, rot to feast, death to sweet salvation. Back in this moment, I glance down at the wooden table and see the eye of a knot looking back at me. It looks shocked to find itself planed and prone when only a moment ago it was a tree. I imagine it will be like that at my final garage sale. All my treasured moments spread across the lawn, so many, and then all gone. Even this one, with the gusty breeze tipping over the empty wine glasses in the late September sun, my hat flying off in the wind.
I usually open it up to questions from the audience, so questions,
First question,
comments.
Sonny asked. Who's the child on the front of the portrait? George
Me,
Floyd?
it's me,
Oh, it's you, okay. I was gonna guess it was
little Huck.
that.
Huck looks just like me when I was a kid, so it could have been Huck. Huck's my grandson.
The title of the book, what I just got here, that's the cover we're talking about, yeah. I wondered, as I read that line, it's from a poem sort of late in the collection, I think it's about turning 50, maybe. I think it's a poem about turning 50.
Yeah, mid-century, yeah.
Do you really feel that way? Like, do you feel when you wake up every day like,
But I just got
but
here.
I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, because some days, I think some days you wake up like, oh,
I'm still here.
yeah, I'm still here. And then some days it's like,
No, I really do wake up that way. And I've lived my life. I've been, really fortunate and privileged and all of that to be self-employed and to basically just create the life I wanted, and I'm a manifesting mofo, I just get an idea, make it happen, get an idea, make it happen. So, and I really have, I'm retired as of like a week ago or so, but, I know, and I'll talk about that in a second, but, what I did before that was, leadership coaching for the last, 12 years or something. And one of the things I loved about that was to see how people will paint themselves into these little tiny boxes and not realize that they are the painters of those boxes, and they
Yeah.
just need to like knock those walls down, and they give themselves false choices and all that. So I was just really lucky. I mean, part of it was being a Navy brat and moving. I lived in more houses than I was years old by the time I was 20. So it's just like constant change and loving it. I love change. And so I just change when I feel like I don't like my life anymore. But retired, I get up in the morning and I like jangle with possibility. Like, oh, I can say what I'm doing today. But it's stuff I want to do, right? I don't ever have to do anything. It's really great.
There are a lot of poems in here about longing, change, and becoming. And I was gonna ask you about that, like what, but I think you just answered that question. Why are those subjects so important to you, provocative?
Right,
inspiring?
yeah, and I think a lot of my writing comes from longing also. Yeah, I don't know, is that enough of an answer or, yeah.
How and when did poetry come to your life?
Well, I think I always knew I was gonna be a writer ever since I was little. And, I was just talking to someone earlier today about how books were my constant companions. I might have been the new kid all the time, but I always had books. So, and I wrote a little bit when I was younger, but then I actually made a living as a writer, or self-employed as a writer, doing marketing and employee communications. And then Michael started a writers group in Corning, and I was feeling kind of lonely in my life in general, but specifically in my career. I didn't know anybody else who was a writer, blah, blah, blah. So I went to the writers group, and that first time I took like some of the words from the Guthrie annual report that were very poetic, but still they were from an annual report. And I learned like, oh, these people are like poets and fiction writers, And so then I actually was inspired to write a bunch of roadkill poems for whatever reason. And then I was off to the races. I haven't stopped writing since, so I blame it on Michael.
And the roadkill poems are not in that book.
No, I'm not even sure I can find them. Dot matrix printer days. So,
How did you figure out your style? Because you have a very unique style to do this.
I don't know if it was a figuring out. I think it was probably more of a thing, or just I'm an improviser also. I do improvisational performing, and a lot of times what I would say to people when they're like, "Oh my God, how do you do that? Are you afraid?" And it's like, no, there's nothing to be afraid of, because all I'm doing is opening, and then trusting that something's going to come through. Like you just have to. Because something will always come through, always, you can trust it. So we can't not have things come through. We can block them, but if we don't block them, they will come through. So I think that's probably also how my style is that I just try not to block and let it come.
One of the things I've always mentioned to people that Rhonda said, she writes journals, right? Been doing that forever. And every once in a while in the past, she would go away, go get a cabin somewhere for 2 days and mine her journals. And she still does that. Maybe doesn't go away like you did, but
Right.
mining her journals.
Well, I live alone, so I don't have to go away. That was when I had 2 little kids and a dog and a husband. All that stuff. But yeah.
Like that long poem you said. That was,
Yeah.
And so many of your poems come from your journal.
Yeah, so they often just start there, and then some of them undergo a lot of revision, and some of them, are like, wow, that looks okay. And I have a writer's group. It helps me refine.
That openness really comes through in the poems, in the surprise of the poem, which is a thing that's very hard to teach a writer, how to be surprising. But it really is about that. It's about being open to the connection, and that is all over this book. I haven't read all of the work, but all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a huge achievement.
Thank you. Yeah, these, she opens the suitcase, these short stories, all were these little things that just started, I had never written fiction, I haven't written fiction really since then, but they just came to me over this brief period of time. And, the key to everything in this collection is that there's a left turn in it, like, didn't see that coming, or like, wow, you know, sort of like Carmela, and she goes and asks for the wine glass.
I just want you to know that is the most real story to me because I know a Carmela. It's my girlfriend who has a whiskey bar in Pittsburgh. And so she has friends named Joe and Charlie. And she has sat there listening to the mindless chatter going on, like.
Oh, that's
Like,
awesome.
I literally was in the bar standing there watching her because I was like, and I can imagine that guy sitting out at the end drinking the bottle by himself. And
Yeah,
her being like, "Oh, you know what?
Hmm.
I'm just gonna get my own glass and go sit with him."
right,
And so like, I was right in that one just
okay,
because.
that's it, you have to give her this.
Oh, it's absolutely. I'm gonna tell her that she
Yeah.
didn't know that she was being.
I conned her, like, yeah, I just opened up and she came to, yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, and Carmela is a creative. She was a dancer in
She went to theater school.
theater school.
Nice.
And
Point Park, that's how she got.
her,
to Pittsburgh.
her bar is her stage.
yeah,
And everything that she does, and it's, so what you wrote, when you said, we're together, I am you and you are me. She literally, you just said it, she flows through you. I
yeah,
have a question though.
yeah,
It's about creatives. I know a lot of people who are creative and they put, make an offering and they put it out there and they're afraid of critique.
mm,
And critique, creatives, that everything that their offerings are like babies or children or things that they hold on to and they don't let go. How do you deal with that? What's your process if you have it?
I love critique, but part of, so remember I said I was in marketing and, you know, I wrote for other people. They were paying me to write words for them. Those words belong to them, right? So I couldn't get precious about this idea I would have or whatever. And so I think partly, I just got used to being told like, don't love it, try again. And sometimes I'd be like, no, it's really, really, no. And this woman, Lori, is actually my other best friend. So Michael's like my brother and she's like my sister. And she was also my client. And she would say, just try it. And she would just like, that's it, stop talking, just go try it. And of course I would try it and something better would come, right? So that even I would love. So then, and I've always been in a writer's group and I really appreciate a writer's group. I really appreciate other people's perspectives. I often go with a question like, does this even work? Like with that poem, about walking the dog, I knew there was something missing in it. And, it's just a beautiful gift to have someone reflect back to you. And I also love editing. I love proofreading. I love all of that stuff because again, I just feel like it's sort of a gift economy of reciprocal, lovely way that the world goes around. So I don't,
You don't hold
but I'm
those.
also like, I've always been a super confident person. I don't. And again, Navy brat. I was always a new kid. It was sink or swim kind of thing, So,
I'll vouch for that.
What did your dad do in the Navy?
he was in the medical service corps.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank him for his service.
Yeah.
I know what it is to be in the Navy. I did it for 20 years as well as an air traffic controller, and I have 2 kids who are two tough nuts to
Yeah.
crack as well. So
Yeah.
the change and the constant change is good for them. Is or
I mean, they don't always
Season
probably
thing.
know it at the time, but yeah. I can definitely see it.
The creatives, Jen, I mean, it's probably a cliche, but I kind of think everybody is. And I think we're sort of about to find that out with technology. Like you were saying, you're a professional writer. I don't know if that's gonna exist in 10 years. I don't think so. I
Right.
think like to write will need to be creative, or like people who manage that technology will have to be creative. that's the value the human being will add to the process is being creative, and I think it's there. I don't know, I think it's there for everybody. Like I listen to anybody tell stories, like I met these guys on hiking, and people tell stories, and that's kind of what we do. And being open to it seems so incredibly important. I had a question for you. My first couple of questions, real quick. One was like, what's the best way to embarrass your kids?
Be myself.
Okay, that's good. Great. Okay.
But I can tell you even more than that, like,
Yeah.
I'm also one of those people who takes it seriously being like a member of the community of humanity kind of thing. So they've known me to and seen me like break up fist fights and that turned to knife fights behind me. The guy has a knife and then I got behind the really big guy and I was just pulling on the guy this way. But you know, they're like, Mom, what am I? But I pick up litter and I'm just, you know, I'm the person who calls like the fire department when I smell a funny smell or whatever. I'm just like, we need to take care of each other. And so I think that embarrasses them.
Empathy, ambassador, what was your talk at TED Talk?
Wait, say it again. You saw that I had a TED Talk?
You had a TED Talk, what was it? Ambassador?
Empathy
Empathy
ambassador.
ambassador.
Yes.
And
yes.
you had another talk with a young man about empathy as well. He was on Obama's, or he did something with Obama or something. We researched it before we came. Yeah.
You couldn't go out in that cold.
You're important, so we are that.
Gosh, you know, it's so funny. I just said this to my son the other day because he was saying, oh, Marianne Smith came in and she was, you know, singing your praises and she just loves you and because he owns a bar. And I was like, oh my God, Marianne Smith, I feel like I've lived at least 20 lives and she was 6 lives ago. So yeah, empathy ambassador. Woo! Now we're talking. That was a real long time ago.
Today, my wife said to me, this goes back to what you were saying about taking criticism, like if you're trying to be creative. We're talking about a young person, you know, who's a painter who is talented, but had another painter say to her, well, you know, you're really good, but have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And you just see like the veil come down over the face. And like not being used to getting any criticism. And we were wondering, my wife was wondering aloud, how much culture that we live in now, where people are sitting by themselves at screens, not getting direct feedback on anything they do except in writing maybe, or they could turn it off. You know, you can just turn the criticism off. The culture has fundamentally changed that way. And for a lot of younger people, maybe for a lot of older people too, I don't know.
I also would have a bone to pick with the person giving that advice. Because first of all, you need to ask if the person wants your advice. I mean, I don't know, maybe she had said she wanted it. But anytime you say but, instead of yes and, that's that improvisational thing like it, you're really good. And I wonder if this would be of interest to you or whatever. But the minute you say but, it's like, that what I just said wasn't really true.
Right.
You know, so there are ways that you can do it that aren't
Some of it is presentation.
as
some of it
hard
is-
to
right,
hear,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And of course, you're right about all of that.
Oh, I don't know.
The echo
Conversation
chamber,
had,
the
it
echo chamber.
Feels that way,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more question, you know, like.
Okay,
just
yeah, I mean, if you guys
about-
aren't bored with my answers and all, you know, like.
There's like all these really, you're really good, you're a poet of moments, so like you are really good at sort of basing a poem on a moment that you had. I think one was where you were sitting in the rain on a recliner and just not going in. So like, I'm just gonna sit here in the rain and see what happens. What's your favorite moment that's given you a poem or another piece of writing like that? Or one that you think has given you the best piece of writing? You remember one moment like stays with you, you're like, wow, I really.
Gosh,
There's
so
probably
many.
thousands, right? So.
I mean, that was a good one.
That's a I forget
A
the
lot
name.
of sex, you know.
A lot of stuff.
There are various sex.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna argue with that.
Yeah, right.
All right,
It's often.
tired with that question.
Or did you have something you wanted to say?
I did, but
Sex
George
was
just
defined on-
dragged it out. It really is so necessary, for poetry, the workshopping of it and then trying it out. This forum here, maybe a little, is one part of it, being able to give voice to what you have on paper makes you feel like, okay, look at that point, if you feel any kind of reaction or connection with your audience, that has validity, right? A poem that's been read in public has different
Sure.
status than the one that's, quiet in your
Right,
notebook.
right,
type of-
right.
But, I found in workshops, those, the response, yeah, it can cut both ways, but it can also be such a, energizer, a validation. But yeah, to say something, there's an art to it. I'm in a poetry group and you say, try to say something that's open, that they can go forward with it, what will help the poem?
Right.
So, a longtime member of the group said, yeah, this is just a failed experiment, about someone else's poem. I was like,
Wow.
and he's a really good poet and stuff, and I'm just saying, wow, be a little more open to what the person's trying to do.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
were, writing zip code poems, and it wasn't apparent at first, but he had, it's different word
Oh,
count.
okay, okay,
And
got it.
just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
almost
Yeah.
hostile to, wordplay, in that manner, and I just think, okay,
Yeah.
so not a good, what I like is, when you feel a little more bonded to the people you're sharing with, and you say, yeah, I think the poem could be better if I did this, or if I
Right.
left this out.
Well, and Michael and I are in the same writers group and we have one person who is relatively new to writing and is just not very secure
Sure.
in his writing yet,
Right.
or even in his personhood, right? Even though he's older than me. But he's hard to give feedback to. Because you can tell it's just, he takes it all personally, he just has a way of resisting it.
Yeah.
But then, like this last time, he took all of our advice and wrote us back the next day with the revised poem.
Yeah.
So some people are a little, they just have to thaw it out by themselves.
It's a growth thing, though, him as a poet, and also in connection with the rest of it.
Well, and when you're in a group, like.
Yeah.
It would be really easy to just back off all feedback to him. Cause he doesn't make it easy, cause he makes it so hard. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna do that, because I'm not gonna be in a writer's group where we aren't giving each other feedback. Why are we wasting our time? So I feel like it's my responsibility to tell him things. And I want him to feel the same responsibility to tell me things. But he doesn't make it easy, so, yeah. You're welcome, yeah, take care.
There's a difference too, like between support group and boot camp. I mean, there are a lot of people like to publicize boot camp for whatever their expertise is.
Right,
And there are people who like to get their asses kicked. There are people who will pay you $100 to kick your ass.
yeah.
But most people aren't that.
Yeah.
Most people are, need support.
Right. Or just like, I think I had a improv teacher who was like that, and it was just like, this is your ego, lady, like, has nothing to do with me, you're just on a trip. See you later, bye. So, yeah. Okay, I feel like,
Thank you.
am I talking?
Thank you.
Books for sale, if anybody
Yes.
wants.
But, take a 2-minute break and do the open mic. Have a drink, buy a book. Yeah. We know that.
Okay. It's. Final garage, that was the very last one. No, I think it's. I think it's. Beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for it.
Yes.
I have a lot of homes on.
It's starting to.
That's a hot coffee with the champagne, caramel and
Not in here. Oh, wait. No, this is.
Also, you're gonna get a medium,
But there are a lot.
in this room.
Can I get a, Bradley? Is it,
Let me
it's options on those?
You know, it's a representation.
I still just.
Well, that one 9 years. And then it.
I think it was the. Bristol, he was all in.
They were like, but I'm like, okay, they're eventually something. Right.
I'm gonna, one last.
Well, thanks for the.
Yeah, we were just,
She's teaching. So she was.
I've been by.
So over to his office. So we.
And you place it in, your comes to spring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go forward.
I mean, I.
When you start one, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And you go get and see them, if I get
You have to back downstairs, you had a student, a video or whatever. There's, I had a, I had to meet Mary down there. So it was. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And yes.
Pastor Charles, went down the hill and started going.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read more.
Looks like.
I haven't gotten there.
That ended, That's all I'm thinking.
Terrible haircut.
I used to try to.
And I thank you for serving with Reese for he was PhD. During the Battle of Hall.
Hang on now.
There's such a vision. Look, it's not the Red Cross.
It's not the same experience. It's not as friendly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's always great when you know, show that you did that.
Yeah.
Expands.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, yeah.
I got everything you're saying, you're always part of. Hey, guys.
Is there?
What's that?
And there's marketing.
It's fun, but.
But it's not like that around here, it's
That's what
just.
Saturday.
Yeah. You would be.
We say a lot of it.
First night.
So.
Tuesday, Wednesday, You're not.
I'm gonna still try to figure it out. Yeah, so. Right, this one is.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the word. Clean up that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the epiphany that I had, just about this. We're talking about AI as an overload. And the real part of it is unique. There's not. Because all business there'll be one guy looking at it, and okay, they're doing that. And then you gotta make a couple technicians to make sure that they're safe. Yeah, that's a whole different.
So Phil done.
What's that?
Yeah. It's actually, that's what you're.
I'm glad you got the record.
Essentially,
I'm still- Yes. Like, oh, man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I blame him. He was gonna design stuff. I didn't see it.
Did you want that?
On the front page of
I can't, we had to talk, but I was going to find it. I reached out from, I didn't get an email back, so. Another hour. She'll stay a lot more. And she's a work out. Yeah, there's, I'll reach out to those guys and let me have, I say, yeah. Yeah. I read a letter,
Is it the one over here?
If that doesn't, I'm also gonna have to get it on I've had the best.
I got
When the item goes, they. Leave this clutch. He was gone and he wanted. Yeah. Just go by. We'll take it for 4 days ahead of it. Like 13. March. So,
Those guys get. When we went out and you know, they play their music, they ask the jams, trying to, get the kids out some of the, so it was good. And they were talking stuff and you talk about telling stories and being able to present something, I'll probably get it there. Well, I don't know where this is, and we're on this right there, pull it together. Yeah. I tell some of the stories, again, hear me tell the stories. So, no. What would I can talk about anything. So this math class today, I went to the math class today, and the calculator is killing me. These kids, they learn. Yeah, we need how to do long division. They learned it to up until the point where never happened. They go right into their shops and they started doing it. So they have a coalition of their some pastor is actually, you know, he's encouraging his kids to get up there. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean,
All right. Hey, folks, we have, we have a few people in the open mic. So you want to start? You got one. That, amongst yourself, right? All right. Tell us a story. John Hall is here, and he's a regular here, and we're happy to have him. He's got something new tonight, so.
So I tried something new. I'm a new writer, and it's really cool to kind of explore all this and do all this and to meet people that do this and you know, like George and Bart have been really big influences, and it's been really cool. So I tried something new tonight, and yeah, like I'm on my phone too today for this. So
We're gonna see who does better.
right.
Because I've never gotten the phone before.
Well, yeah, I actually have social anxiety, so I started this to really cope with that.
We do have a mic, by the way, if you want.
No, I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. If everybody can hear me, I'm good to go. So. Am I better yet? When I sit at home all alone, I struggle with my life. Sitting on my couch is still as stone. Am I better yet? When I see others at church sitting together, I wonder why I'm always sitting alone. Yet I find myself filled with hope. Am I better yet? I finally see that my life is filled with friends. So why am I so afraid? All of my insecurities are just dead ends. Am I better yet? As I look back, I am proud. My life is filled with more happiness than I realized. Excited about looking forward, I am definitely allowed. Am I better yet? I honestly don't know. I'm just so tired of feeling the anxiety and the pain. From here, where do I go?
Next up is Michael Zernacki, and Michael, I know you have a poem and a story today.
Yeah, so, okay.
Great,
Okay.
great.
I don't know if I for the phone.
Well, you did really good on the phone.
Yeah. I don't know, it's gonna
It's
be
like,
hard.
I don't know if I can equal that. My printer wasn't working, so it's like, okay, let me take a picture of it. And then, so, well, the person Rhonda was talking about from the writers group, he writes his poems on the phone. I mean, that's gonna be create. So how many of you create on your phone? Really? How did you do that?
Yeah.
Wow. So this is, I'll return to Buffalo after first year of bumming on the road. This is, goes way back. It's one of the, I would have been 20 years old. All night coffee shop. I just back from road, couldn't go home. Stepdad kicked me out for bumming around, for having quit college. Sitting at U-shaped counter, shivering, feverish. Little older woman, dark haired, good looking, on other side of counter, smiled at me while sipping her coffee. Then put coins in jukebox. Played Alice Cooper's Body. I don't know if anyone knows that song, Alice Cooper's Body. 3 times in a row. Eyes riveted on me. When you
Nothing at all creepy about that.
when music was over, walked around counter, put her coat on my back, arm around my shoulders, asked if I had somewhere to stay. Told her no. She said, be here tomorrow night at 2. I'll have a place. Then took her coat, walked out into the street. I never showed up at 2. Always wondered what I was.
Well, you're here today.
I've always wondered. I don't know if you've ever heard this.
What's the song about?
A body, it's like, what's your body?
I want your body.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Michael, I think that was a setup for you getting, rolled for your money and.
My money? No, it wasn't for my money. So sorry, Rhonda had me thinking about the days way back, when we talked about the regular school, that was 1990, started that. But I've made my living as a poet, for 30 plus years. And I thought about the first time I did, and it's like, you never know how things are gonna turn out or what effect you have on other people. And the first time I was hired to do work in a school was Campbell High School, down towards Corning. And the librarian hired me for 2 days to be in the library, and English classes would come down to see the poet, right, for 42 minutes. And I had never done that before. And I was a little apprehensive. Oh, what am I going to do with high school students, 42 minutes, So I got in early the first morning, and Jane, the librarian, said, oh, Michael, I want to warn you. One of the teachers here really hates this idea. He has to bring his classes down. He doesn't want to, so I just want to warn you. I go, thanks. Here I'm already apprehensive about this. And 3 amazing things ended up coming from these 2 days. One, that teacher who hated the idea, the last 2 days, this class was the last one on the second day. We're done. He calls me over to him. He goes, oh, Michael, I've been around here a long time. I can pull a few strings. How much would it cost to have you come back and visit my class a few more times? Yeah. Wow, cool. And then the second thing that came, this one girl who was in the class the first day, the second day, class came down and they all sit down, and this girl comes behind the class and walks up to me and says, Michael, I was in the class with my English class here yesterday, and I really loved it. I'm skipping out of math right now, so if I sit in here. Of course, that was Stephanie. And she knows who that is. And we ended up becoming good friends. She lived with us for a while and still keep in touch. But that was so cool. But the even bigger thing, 5 years later, after doing this, those big schools, Watkins Glen, we have a reading series there that helped start, still going on, 30 years it's been going on. And the reading was over, we were standing, I was talking to the future poet, a good friend of mine, Walt Franklin, Walt comes here often, and when we're talking, these 3 guys walk into the shop and go to the counter and get some coffees, and And Walt and I are standing talking, and they're looking, one of the guys is looking over at us. I didn't know. He's looking, then he finally comes sauntering over with his coffee, and he looks right at me. He goes, "What's your name? I think I know you." I said, I tell him, he said, "I thought that was you. You came to my school, the library, remember? Like, 5 years ago." I said, "Yeah." And I asked him his name, and he told me Jim Rising, and he goes, "Do you remember the poem I wrote?" And I looked at him, I said, "Jim, that was 5 years ago. I've been to a lot of schools." "No, I don't." He goes, "It was about my uncle in Vietnam." I said, "Jim, I remember that poem. It was a really good poem." And then he says this to me. "That was the first poem I ever wrote. And I haven't stopped writing since." Awesome. Wow. So you never know when you go out there and what you do, how it affects somebody. So, thank you.
Also makes me want to clean up my act when you say that. Thank you. Christy, is this your name or is this your pen name?
That's my stage, my pen name.
All right.
Artist name.
Christy Scribbles.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know it was no mic, so I'm gonna do it. And, just as Rhonda was saying, the community, I'm new to the area, so it's nice to feel the energy all together, right? The artistic energy. Here we go. The power of clothing. Round the world and home again, that's the poet's way. There is no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. There's no knowing where we're rolling or which way the river's flowing. Is it raining? Is it soaring? Can you feel the poetry pouring, pouring? Can you feel it, see it, taste it as it pours out of the walls, down to the floor, cascades across the room as it washes over us now? We are waist deep in it now. Can you feel it? The poetry pouring from this very surface, from this very flooring. The planks pulsate with it. The walls bounce it from here to there, from there to everywhere inside this poetry place. As I stand and face all of the you for the first time of my view, any stage performance, this energy enormous. As the poetry is felt from deep within the walls, from deep within the work, from deep within the hearts, with the very start with Miguel Alvarin and the poets of the past, and their fight to just be here. Their fight to allow our words to just be here, right here. We are here, I am here, you are here we are because of them that went before, that fought before, fought for the poetry, fought for the passion, fought for permission to let art live, to let poetry live, to help people live. Now it is our time to give. It is our turn. It is now our turn to turn outside of these walls and use these words to defend, to defeat, to deliver our words. We must deliver for those who came before us, for those who have no fight left, for those who have fought for far too fucking long, too much, too tired, much too tired. For them, we speak, we perform, we protest, we pulsate. We ask these walls to vibrate into us as we move and we speak and we shake. We, the poets, we vibrate to eradicate the injustices we see in the everyday, in the every way. We must poet, we must. The time to poet is now. The time to poet is now. I call to these walls, to our hearts tonight, to take flight into the fight, into the world. Watch out, world, enter the motherfucking poets. Not a speck of light is showing. So the danger must be growing. Are the fire of poets glowing? Is the grizzly reaper mowing? Yes, the movement must be growing, for the poets keep on poeting. And they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing. Artificial zone. Say,
So,
there's no way.
we need that now. I knew Miguel out there at the New York, who was the founder of the New York
Yeah,
Poets
that
Cafe.
was my first poem I ever performed on the stage there.
He was scary.
That's really scary.
Well, he was very formidable. He founded this Poets Cafe, and there was a lot of poetry, and that was the kind of the Gulf, the first Gulf War era, the Bush era, first Bush era. So it was strange political and social. That energy was really inspiring. People who went there. I hope that.
Yeah, right now they're redoing the whole thing and her son's La Bruja, she's a great poet.
Yeah.
She's the head of, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna say.
Lower East Side. On third.
Yeah, I think third.
There.
Oh, yeah, it was redone.
I think it's supposed to have like 2 or 3 years later. They got.
This was one of the original spoken word venues, not the original, but the original New York probably.
You know Jane's spoken word?
Well, but anyway, it's a different art form, I think. So, yeah. Great, thank you. Now, Bill, to make it totally random, Bill Dunn, those of you know what that means. Gonna give us his latest 12-step program.
That's right.
Alright.
I don't know how to follow.
We're not even gonna try.
Uh,
We're just gonna do a different thing.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was listening to, intro to Stoicism, and the guy was doing it, and he said, if you're trying to be like a millionaire, I'm not that. We're playing a different game. I'm bringing a
Right.
tennis racket to a baseball game, so
Yeah.
you've got a totally different racket. Before I do mine, I just wanted to share from Rhonda. She talked about having many rides, and it reminded me of one of my favorite poems. I mean, the wheel, the brand.
Yeah.
So the name of it is The Grave Digger. Once, as I was burying one of my dead selves, the grave digger came by and said to me, of all those who come to bury you, you alone I like. Said I, you please me exceedingly, but why do you like me? Because, he said, they come weeping and go weeping, you only come laughing.
Sounds like it.
All right, so this is a participatory poem. So the refrain, if we're in Catholic Church right now, is, and you can scream this, it's kind of fun. The castle's on fire. The one on the hill. That's right. So when I was at Jack's place a month or two ago,
The castle was on fire.
with Mr. Bart, we had a conversation and reminded him of when the castle caught on fire, when Sonny and I actually moved back to the area. So you triggered it. I pulled out my phone because I'm a spirit of the moment person. I just started writing, and I wrote this poem.
So how do we know when it's our turn to say? I just want to get it
I'll
right.
go.
Let's see, Lynn.
Okay.
There we go.
I think you.
Something.
Okay. Just want to get it wrong.
Fire siren at 1 a.m. I grabbed the phone, hit the scanner app. Dispatch says, the castle's on fire. I tell Sonny, get dressed. We gotta go see this. She says, what? The castle's on fire. We jump in the car, drive the short distance up Route 256, flashing lights. Then we see the castle's on fire. Firelight illuminates the top floor. First thought, will it burn down? Then remember why it still stands. It's fireproof building, even though the castle's on fire. Then feeling the melancholy of what the castle was when all the windows were lit and no one was yelling. The castle's on fire. When the old building breathed, the outdoor pool splashed, the tennis courts bounced, the rooftop scenery wasn't. The castle's on fire. Facebook comes alive. I wish we could save it. Why doesn't the owner do something? Spectators calling out while the castle's on fire. Sometimes I wish it was gone. They have the spectators and looters and trespassers gone. They have my melancholy gone. To never say again.
The castle's on fire.
Thank you very much.
Hey, guys. Rhonda, I like that phrase, I jangle with possibility. So, I'm gonna, keep that in my mind. I'm gonna read a poem about, Patty Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe. They were, together in New York City, and just a little background. Patty wrote a memoir called Just Kids a couple of years ago, and she tells us a really empowering story about her father taking a whole family, Patty and her brother and sister and mom, and to go to the Philadelphia Art Museum. And when she sees those paintings, she determines for herself, I'm gonna be an artist. And, Robert Mapplethorpe, photographer, most famous for his depiction of male sensuality, of the male body, so, okay. And he befriended her on her first night in New York City, because she was gonna sleep on a doorstool somewhere. So anyway. Before they were famous, Patty Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe in a single room at the Chelsea Hotel. Not a buck to spare, not an ounce of fat. Lean as can be in their bell-bottom jeans, Patty and Robert take the afternoon off. From four walls packed with photos, drawings, poems, from two shallow closets with spray can paints and canvases crammed, from their lumpy bed with nowhere else to sit, from the hot plate, the cracked ceiling, from the stacks of men's magazines that Robert brings back from all-night Times Square shops, from well-thumbed novels, Sartre and Camus, from sketchy LPs, from Janice and Jimmy, the Stones and the Doors, from Coltrane, Miles and Mingus. They'll hit the village where all types mingle, stoners, dealers and folkies, newcomers and old timers, students and tourists, sometimes lovers, best of friends. Patty and Robert stroll into Washington Square, past chess hustlers and quick-handers looking to part fools from their money, easy bets on three-card Monte, protesters chanting stop the war, guitar strummers and bongo bangers, artists who'll draw you in caricature. Patty in her love beads, sandal scarves, Robert in his sheepskin vest, aviator glasses and rakish fedora. An older couple stopped and openly observed us, Patty remembers, in her memoir, dedicated to Robert, who didn't make it past AIDS, whose photographs hang in galleries and museums, mansions in the Hamptons. Oh, take that picture, said the woman to her bemused husband. I think they're artists. All gone, he's gone. They're just kids. So two shorties. This is called letting go. The end of things is hard for us. I want and want and want. Now do I stop from wanting? What can be had only once? And then a little.
Did you repeat that part, you know?
What's
Did
that?
you repeat that again?
Letting go. The end of things is hard for us. I want and want and want. How do I stop from wanting what can be had only once? Blood red, lost love alone on a snowbank, fallen, left behind, wonders who will find and slip me on. I thought that was pretty cool.
Never disappoint. I was gonna give you one quick one. This is from a manuscript that's currently residing in Batman. Country music. The Haitian immigrants above me are listening to country music. The basement apartment in my childhood home is filled with it. I live rent-free inside hours of country music. My mother listened to classic country music in the same space above. My son listens to contemporary country at our house in the country. We bought it with our memories of country music. My wife says it's just country music and leaves the room. My mother and Merle Haggard are gone. Tammy Wynette and George Jones are gone. The immigrants are singing about golden rings, divorce, a two-story house, and the world needing melodies. They are promising we'll all be safe. Next month, wait, before I say anything about next month, thank you again. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you for publishing Rhonda Morton. Next month, February 28th, a Friday, Jessica Femiani, a poet from Binghamton, who has just published a chapter called American Gun, which is a long poem about gun violence and mass shootings in the US. So it should be a good conversation. That's February 28th, and then in March, we got a couple of poets coming in from Erie, PA. I don't know exactly who yet, but some of the better poets in Erie, PA, maybe Chuck Joy, maybe Steve Williams, maybe a couple other people. So, yes, join us, that's March 21st, so February 28th. All right, thanks, folks. We're gonna head over for some food at Jack's, and drinks at the Gaslight Grill and Jack's, if anybody wants to join us. So, all right, thanks. 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 All right.
Just heard just this, and I just read the part about the museum, like,